Yo guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel, or welcome if you've not been here before. So I've just jumped on today to do my pre-market forecast for the week commencing the 4th of October. So I'm just going to share my forecasts for these 5 pairs here, which is the pairs that I'll be looking to trade this week. Alright, so let's just jump into it. So USD Chf, we can ignore most of this stuff that's over to the left here. What's really important is we've got this break of structure here, which did actually break from that point over there, but it broke here to the high, and that was caused by this candle here. And then we had a new high formed, and then in this week just gone, we've actually had another break of structure to the high with this candle here, which closed above this high here. So on the daily time frame, there's not really much doubt in my mind of what's going to happen next. It's just basically that we're going to be looking to take price higher. So the real question is, where do we take price higher from to follow these breaks of structure, anticipating a new break of structure? Alright, so the first point that I'm looking to take price higher from is from this point down here. Now, basically this is the point which caused the actual break of structure, and it's also got imbalance. So if we just zoom in on the 4-hour, so if we look what actually caused that daily break of structure, it's this 4H candle here. Now, before that point, there's not really any imbalance in the price, so there's not really too much reason for it to come lower down, or at least not within this region anyway. And then here what we've got is a very clear imbalance, so it does actually make sense for price to come back down, fill this imbalance. So that adds confluence to this order block here. So this candle here is the order block which actually broke the daily structure, and I'd anticipate that the order block is within the wick of that candle. So the first place I'm looking to take price higher from is this here, and we can see we've already actually started our reaction away from it, so it's quite possible that price can just move straight out of there and continue upwards. Now the second place that I'm looking to buy from is this more extreme area within the daily range. So we've got our daily range from here to here, and it would make sense for price to come back down to the low of the daily range before continuing higher. Now, I'm still a bigger fan of this one up here, just due to the situation with being balanced on the 4-hour, and we don't really have imbalance here on at the extreme of the daily range. However, what we do have is these big wicks here, which are clear liquidity wicks, so there could potentially be something within this wick here which price maybe could need to mitigate before moving higher. Also, it's still, in terms of the premium and discount pricing, since we'll be in the daily range low, this is like the most discounted point within the daily range. So I think that looking at a POI down here in the low of the daily range also makes sense to buy from, as well as this one which price is currently reacting to for a more aggressive move. Now, finally, what we do still have is the POI that I forecasted, I think it was last week, for price to basically buy off this one here, which caused the previous break of structure. Now, this, if it does react off there, it maybe won't happen this week because we are still quite far away from that point in terms of the price, 100 pips, which is quite a bit for USD Chf. So, really, I'd be thinking that price is going to come off one of these two, but the buy structure, in the sense that I still think it could buy up from down here, so the buy structure won't really be invalidated unless price just slams through there like that. So if we do see price fail to respect our initial POI and our extreme POI, then this here, the daily impulsive POI, price could respect that and just play off there, grabbing liquidity from this daily low here. So I'd also be happy to trade off that. So what I'm really looking at in terms of continuing buys is a buyout of there, a buyout of here, or some type of buyout of there. Now, zooming down to the 2 hour, what we can actually see is that we've got our break structure. So we break structure here, and then we break structure here again. And then what we do actually have is the mitigation. So this POI here, this order block which caused the break structure, gets mitigated here. And as well in the sense that this one and that wick there mitigates this one. So we do actually have a bearish order flow on the 2 hour USD CHF. So overall what I'm anticipating is that USD CHF will go higher off one of these points, but if it fails to go higher from this point, then obviously it's going to have to travel lower to actually reach one of the other points. And looking at the 2H, we can see this clear order flow. So I'll also look at potentially taking a sell out of there to basically reach this lower point of interest that I've marked out. Sorry guys, my internet froze there. But yeah, so overall on USD CHF, I'll basically be looking at buying for this area, buying from this area down here, and then potentially also buying from this area down there if these two aren't respected. And in terms of taking price lower to get down here in the first place, I would be open to taking a sell from this 2 hour point of interest here, like this. So yeah, let's see what happens with USD CHF this week. And yeah, I will put all this stuff in a Notion document, which is a written version of this forecast. So if you guys want to be able to print my forecast off or just read it without having to watch the video, then you can check the link in the description below. And guys, please do subscribe if you enjoy these videos, because they do take time to create each week. And I do plan on continuing to put out my weekly forecast. So if you're interested in my forecasting, then please subscribe to the channel. And if you're interested in my Forex journey in general, or anything relating to my Forex journey, then please subscribe to the channel. Alright, so Euro USD. Now on Euro USD, what we've had is a break structure to the low. Now we did have, before this, we had break structure to the high, and I was actually looking at potentially taking buys to go higher, but that's not happened, and we've just completely violated that thesis to go down to the low now. So what I'm really expecting is just a continuation to the low. Now, looking at the daily high, technically it's all the way up here, and we've got this imbalance here. But honestly, that's really quite far away, so I'm not overly interested in taking price lower from there. Also, we've not really got a sign, even on the 4 hour, that price is reversing yet to go higher up to these areas. So right now I'm just looking at the most immediate points to sell from to continue the sell bias. So looking at the daily, it's not really that clear. It's just a big impulsive leg. So let's look at the 4 hour. So looking at the 4 hour, we've got this new high created here, and then a new low created. And then, so for me, this basically makes sense as the most likely place for price to actually continue lower from, just continuing this 4 hour structure. And what we can see is price has actually already reacted off this order block and failed to break above it. So what I'm really anticipating most on EU is just a continuation to the low from this point of interest here. So that could happen pretty early in the week if it does take off like that. So let's see what happens with that. What I'm also aware of is this other order block up here. So technically the previous 4 hour high, it was there, but this bit's all been mitigated with these wicks. So what I'd really be interested in, if we fail to respect the lower order block what I've marked there, then I'd be looking at something like that. So on EU, I'm basically looking at one of two options. I'm only looking for sells on EU right now, and I'm looking at sells out of there or sells out of here. And that's it for my EU forecast. Alright, so I'm moving on to AU. So AU, similar to EU, we had our break structure to the high, but that was basically just a move to mitigate the impulsive OB, which I mentioned in my forecast last week was a possibility. And that is actually what's happened. It's come and mitigated this impulsive order block up here, which caused the previous break structure to the low on the daily. And then after reacting there, it started to just move down. So we basically had a break of structure here on the daily low that was formed previously. And looking at where that came from, it's really come from this area up here. And more specifically, this break of structure has come from this wick, which grabs liquidity above the wick next to it there. So on the daily, it's not super clear. So I just decided to look down at the 4 hour. Now on the 4 hour, we can see it a lot clearer. There's this whole move here, which is caused by this big candle here. And this is just a small pullback. For my rules, that's not considered a high. So this is the high of the 4 hour, and that is the area that caused this overall break of structure. So what I'm really expecting is just a continuation lower out of this 4 hour order block up here. And the reason why I've marked this more extreme area of the 4 hour order block is because on the 2 hour, what we've got is this very clear refinement. We've got imbalance just below it, and yeah, that is the last buy candle really before the sell move overall started. Now what I'm aware of, and why I've got this green line drawn on here, is that price could just react from really anywhere within this whole area here. It doesn't necessarily have to come right to the high. It could just come up to the 50% and then go down from there. So what I've marked is a more refined point, and I would be open to sells overall from pretty much anywhere now, from the area that we're within up until the 4 hour structure high. But ideally, I'd like to see price come up to these extremes to mitigate the 2 hour refinement of the 4 hour order block before going lower. So yeah, on AU, I'm basically looking at one opportunity, but possibly taking it off either the refined version or the unrefined version of the order block. Now keep in mind, I won't be using these stop losses myself. I'll be looking for entries on the lower time frames like I've discussed in one of my previous videos, but this is just a visualization of what I'm looking for on the charts. So that's AU. So pound USD, if we look at the daily, we were in the same situation as the other USD pairs. Break structure didn't get respected, and now we've had a break structure to the low. So we've got a very clear daily high formed on the pound dollar. So I'm really looking to take it lower from this area of the daily high. Now, looking at the 4 hour, what we can see is this actual candle here, which is the impulsive order block on the 4 hour, is what's actually caused the break of structure directly. So in an ideal world, we will be looking to just take it out of this refinement of the daily POI. But also, we could be looking at sells from anywhere within this range. I think I'd like to see at least this area mitigated before we sell, but we could potentially be seeing price coming higher up into this daily range, so something like that before going lower. So this area here could easily be violated, but we'll still see price go lower after tapping these more extreme points of that daily point of interest. So yeah, it's really just a case for me. I'm looking for sells on the pound dollar, and that's just because we've seen this break of structure. So I'm going to be looking for sells out of this daily point of interest up here. Now, what I'm also aware of, on the 2 hour, we have broken structure to the high, which also took out liquidity, which would have been above this point here. So I won't be looking for any buying opportunities, but I would anticipate that price will just continue to go higher until we get to that point. But yeah, for me personally, GU, I'm just looking at sells out of the refined and unrefined versions of the daily POI. And then, so pound yen. Now looking at pound yen, we're still in this daily range from the 13th of July to the 20th of July. So based on that, what we had was break of structure to the low. And just based on that, what we should expect is for price to really actually break this structure again to the low. Now it's been taking a while to do that, but it's still a valid thesis that we'll see a break of this structure to the low, and that's more likely than price breaking to the high, especially after we've seen this here, where price has come up to mitigate the order block at the high of the range, and then it's failed to break structure. So to me, that really indicates that we are still looking at price going lower on pound yen. Now, just looking at the 4 hour immediately, what we've got is clear bearish order flow and some nice structure which we could actually trade off. So I'm pretty interested in this pair at the minute. So we got our first break of structure here, and then we've had another break of structure, confirming that we're in a downtrend now. And now what's interesting with this one is that we actually got a mitigation. So we've got our point of interest here, which caused that break of structure, this one here. And then price has come back up to tap into that. So it's actually mitigated it, which is what I like to look for, because that signals that the banks are actually causing this order flow and that they probably do want to go lower, otherwise they wouldn't necessarily have just come up to mitigate there. So we then get another break of structure after that mitigation, and then that formed this new point of interest here. So that would have been this whole candle if we just look at it on the 4 hour. But looking at it on the lower time frames, we can actually see there's basically this wick here on the 1 hour, which grabs liquidity above this one. So that's why I've refined it to this point here, and also I've included the area up here, which is the actual 4 hour high. So what I'm really looking at is just a continuation of this bearish order flow on the 4 hour to take price lower away from this new point of interest that was formed after the break structure here. Now price has already tapped into it, so I'll probably just be looking to try and take an entry if an entry comes pretty early on in the week. I also wouldn't be opposed to price coming further up into it and then going from there. But yeah, price could easily just melt down now straight out of it because we have already tapped into that. So that's my forecast for the pound yen. I'm looking at sells pretty much just out of this area to continue the 4 hour mitigation flow, looking to break structure again on the daily. So that's it for my forecast, guys. So thanks for watching today, and if you guys want to see the written version of this, then just check out the video description. And also I've got some other interesting resources in the video description if you guys are interested in how to improve your Forex skills, or if you just want any help with Forex in general. If you got any questions, then leave a comment, and I hope you guys enjoyed this forecast. So please subscribe if you did enjoy it, guys, because like I said, it does take time to make this video, and I'm going to keep putting content out there. So if you're interested in what I've got to say, or if you're interested in my forecasting, then just give me a subscription and you can see my future videos. Alright, thanks a lot, guys. Hope you guys have a good and safe trading week. Have a great day.